Welcome back to Systems of Existence and a solo episode with your heads up for Scorpio season, because we enter Scorpio season this week, and I really am not underestimating when I'm saying that this Scorpio season is for the history books. For you, for me, for us, for the planet, for sure, but that also obviously always reflects what's going to happen in our personal life too. And I want to fill you in on everything that is going to happen within the next 4 weeks, which is, I don't even know how to put it into words other than it's for the history books. I mean, it truly is, because when we speak about Scorpio, first of all, let me fill in on that. Scorpio is ruled by Pluto, which is the soul, and Mars, which is the little assistant of Pluto, so our assistant of the soul. And we just came out of Pluto moving forward, right? Which means that it's the finale for Pluto in Capricorn, and the ruler of Scorpio season, Pluto, I'm emphasizing that here, is actually going to move into Aquarius during Scorpio season, during his own season, so to speak, right? So the next 4 weeks are just, let me say, going to be, you need popcorn. That's the best way to put it. It's just gonna be really wild, because we also have within the next 4 weeks the day finally happening that I saw this entire year as the most significant day, and illumination, which is the full moon in Taurus, because that full moon in Taurus is exactly conjunct Uranus. And all the full moons that had aspects to Uranus, and you know by now everything in Uranus is just so unexpected and so plot twisty, and the universe taking over, that it almost feels like we are not even out of the eclipse season anymore. It's more intense than eclipse season, but it makes sense because Pluto also represents the soul, and eclipse season is when the soul takes over. So the Scorpio season will just feel like your soul is also taking over now, and really you're just on a ride of, okay, this needs to die, this needs to die, this needs to die. There's a haunting shadow, there's a haunting old wound coming up, because we also just still are in those 4 week window until the full moon in Taurus, where we work with the full moon in Aries that we just had, which is or was conjunct Chiron. And I spoke about that in my masterclass. Mars, the little assistant of Pluto again, right on the opposite side of the Saturn-Pluto conjunction. So can you see how it's all basically a story that is coming together to culmination within the next 4 weeks, because we speak about the Saturn-Pluto conjunction 2020. So the last 4.5, 5 years have been this dismantling of the system, of our inner and outer matrix, and it's the finale of that now, which is also the reason, by the way, why I felt so called, and maybe you've seen me talk about it on Instagram, to create a workshop, a 2-part workshop it actually is, in around all things core wounding and your shadow, and the core wounding in your human design and in your gene key specifically, because the core wounding in the gene key sequence is both. It's the core wounding is connected to the Venus sequence, which speaks a lot about relationships, self-worth, basically how you relate to the world and to yourself. And there's a core wounding gene keys that always makes you feel disconnected, not good enough, all the things that we struggle with as humans, right? And where we also start the people pleasing and the masking and the not being our true self. And that very same gene key is also connected to the pearl, which speaks about your service to the world, prosperity, the money that you have, everything, right? The right people you attract, also your fractal. And so it's very important to work with this specific gene key, because it unlocks so much for you in terms of relationships, self-worth, prosperity, service to the world, purpose, everything. So it's very, very connected also to your life's work, to everything. And so I created a workshop that will happen this week. If you're interested to join us, it's a two-part. It's the first part is the teaching, which I go into that specific gene key, but then also into understanding to the core your Chiron wounding and how you can also work with Chiron and all things in your chart to unlock really the key, which is Chiron, right, to your healing and to your service to the world, which is the mythology of Chiron. So if you would like to dive into that and to finally break out of these, as I said, haunting shadows that keep creeping up, and this very thing that you feel like it's never going to leave you, and trust me, this Scorpio season will be your shadows haunting you, because again, the full moon in Aries with Chiron already indicated that for the next 4 weeks, and then it's Scorpio season. It's bringing up shit from the underworld that still needs to die, because it's not just the dismantling of the system in the outside world, it's also inside of yourself. So be prepared for that. And then again, you moon with Uranus, I mean, what can you expect? Nothing, right? The unexpected. So anyways, we start Scorpio season, and I literally haven't planned it this way, but then I saw, well, I dated the workshop. Part 1 is going to happen on October 23rd, and part 2, the Q&A, will happen on Friday the 25th. And I'm like, wait a second, that's exactly when we start 0 Scorpio and enter Scorpio season. I think there's no better way to start Scorpio season than addressing all of our shadows. I love it, you know, it's like astrology working through me as well. You can't make that shit up. Anyways, if you would like to join us, it's so special because I won't do it in this 2-part again. So it's the very first time that I'm creating this workshop live, and I will sell it basically as a standalone. So it will be available as a standalone, but I really, really invite you to take the opportunity now to also have this live experience with me, where you can ask me questions, where you can, just dive deep into me and into you, into all of us, into our shadows, into our collective. We already have a very beautiful group, but I will keep it intimate as well. So obviously, because we address deep topics, so don't be afraid, you know, it won't be like all like the entire internet basically, where you have to reveal your shadows, and you actually don't even have to share anything if you don't feel comfortable. So, you know, speaking about Scorpio, right, if you would rather just learn from it and integrate yourself, that's also fine. Or you can also ask me questions via email, and I just speak about it without letting anyone know that the question came from you. So it will be very intimate, and you will experience a safe space. So the details are down below, and I hope that you can join us. You will also, if you can't join live, you will be able to have the replay, of course. And yeah, I'm really excited for this, because I mean, I'm born with Chiron conjunct my sun, and I have an 8th house stellium, speaking about Scorpio. So I'm very much all about, you know, diving deep into your woundings and being the detective for that. But going back to Scorpio season. So first of all, we already know, and that's why I created the workshop, and would love for you to really take this opportunity for yourself, that it will bring up a lot of things that we would like to keep under the rug, let's just say. Kind of know there are elephants in the room. That's very Scorpio, right? And that we need to address them at some point, but we don't want to. So it's just like, but now with Pluto finally, right, ending Capricorn, and for the first time in history, then never be back again. I mean, not for the first time in history, in our history, right, in our lifetime, won't be back again in Capricorn. So it's just, it just screams, okay, then we have to bring everything up to the surface that we haven't brought up so far in the last 4.5 years. So that can be anything, you know. And again, with the Uranus and that full moon in Taurus, it also screams like very unexpectedly things are being full moon illuminated big time, right? Magnifying glass. And on the same day that we have the full moon, Saturn stations direct in Pisces. So a lot of illusions will be shattered big time, right? And it's time to really take responsibility for how we create this world in a more soul-aligned structure. In our, obviously when I say that, you know that by now, it's always on a personal and on a global level. And we will see all of that playing out globally big time. right? And unexpected shit. I mean, you know, Taurus, it's earth, it's environment, it's money, it's all these kinds of things that threaten our survival to a certain degree, right? Scorpio is also this fear of death and dying, and oh my gosh, you know, I'm not going to make it in this world. All these fears are going to creep up, which is also ultimately why we as children start the people pleasing and the masking, because we feel like if we are ourselves, we can't survive in this world, right? We can't make it. And that's all based on the structure and the system that we are born into, and the conditioning and the wounding. And I'm going back to promoting the workshop here, but I mean, yeah, it really is about time to address that very thing, because it will creep up again, trust me. And it creeps up for me too. You know, I'm noticing, oh, my core wound is Jinki 25, and over the last days, I mean, ever since the full moon, it comes in waves, so it creeps up again, and it creeps up again. And this Jinki, I mean, I work with the Jinkis also on a DNA physical body level, because I really notice, specifically with my own core wounding, Jinki 25, it really shows up in my body, because it also speaks about my body. And I mean, if you know my journey, then it makes so much sense that this is my core wounding, because literally the entry of the shadow of Jinki 25 is to feel constricted and limited in the human body, right? And to feel like, yeah, constricted is the best way to describe it, and it very much is connected to the breath. And I was born not breathing, and you know, my struggles with basically, yeah, eating disorder, anorexia for so long in my life, where I felt like my spirit is too big for this body, or I don't want to be in this body because I feel constricted and limited by the world and don't even know how to exist in it. And this fear and anxiety of all the things that are constricting me in this physical realm, which again is very connected to, will I be able to make it, you know, with money, with like all these kinds of things, with the structures and the rules. So that constriction is really much the shadow of Jinki 25. And I've noticed myself going into waves, into, oh my gosh, I'm not breathing again, or I feel this shortness of breath, and I feel constricted in the heart space, lung area. I also have, my lungs are underdeveloped. I just recently did a test. So it's like very interesting how it also manifests in the physical body. And that's not just for me, by the way. Whenever we speak about the gene keys in human design, your core wounding, it always shows up in your physical world, but also body. So a lot of the times when we have an illness showing up or something, you know, playing out in our life and we don't know what's going on, of our energy levels are weird, or we notice like we have this pattern of skin breakouts or a rashes somewhere, or, you know, what people would quote autoimmune. I can almost attest to you that it has to do with your core wounding and or some gene key in your chart. That's why I love to work with them as well. It's very fascinating, because everything is energetic, right? So going back to these shadows creeping up right now, specifically in Scorpio season. So we have to learn how to dance with them. And I almost want to say focus on your own shadows and matrix right now that needs to die, and not so much on what's going on in the outside world. Because I mean, we all know what's going to also happen within the next 4 weeks. It's the US elections, it's how that's going to play out, but that's all just a charade, you know, it's all just distraction in a way, and also part of the matrix we have to move out of, where it's like, it's such an illusion that this is even important or significant or would make any impact. It doesn't fucking matter, you know, it's just a game that we play to entertain us, I guess. But obviously it still has an impact, because not everyone in this world has the awareness, or I want to say sees it in that way, and still takes it very serious, obviously. And so there will be a lot of shifts happening with that as well, which is also right after the new moon in Scorpio. So yeah, I can only say it's going to be very interesting how that's going to play out. And then 10 days later we have this powerful full moon in Taurus, and then on the same day, and again, Saturn moving direct. And then on the very last day of Scorpio season, Pluto finally moves into Aquarius and won't ever be back there again in our lifetime. So I wanted to fill you in on give you a heads up about the energies that we are going to navigate over the next 4 weeks, because it really is probably the most intense time period and window of this year. And it's also Thanksgiving, it's the holidays, it's all of that. So a lot is just going to shift, and I can almost promise you that in the next 4 weeks you will shift so much. Like, unexpected things will happen, and we just have to understand that it's all for the betterment of all of us, because everything that is dying within the next 4 weeks inside of you, around you, that's going out of your life, will be replaced with things that are more aligned for you. So we have to remain really flexible. That's the main message that I got, and to see in everything that is going to occur and come up for you, see it as a blessing, because you don't want to have these things under your rug. They will start to smell, they will, be maybe moldy and then make you sick, Like, that's how you have to see them. So it's good that it all comes up now, and as much as you have resistance towards that coming up, it's your soul in a way freeing you, because otherwise you would end up with mold toxicity, you know what I mean? So it's like that kind of situation where you're like, but I don't want to clean it up because I don't even know how to clean this up because it's such a mess. It's been there for so long. And then your soul is like, well, but keeping it there will also make you sick. So at some point we have to address it, So let me just, create something in your life where we just have to create it and rip off the Band-Aid, because you wouldn't rip it off yourself. And I mean, I have to push you a little bit, and it's uncomfortable in the moment, but trust me, in the long term it will be amazing, because you are not going to make yourself sick from the mold, right? So I know, weird analogy, but that's literally how it will be. So I'm excited and terrified myself at the same time, but I think that's also why it's so important for us to come together in community, to share what's going on, why I wanted to fill you in on everything. Obviously, I always have the option also for one-on-one support if you want to navigate a major tower moment, which they probably will happen for a lot of us over the next 4 weeks as well. Then, let's look at your chart. Let's look at your astrology and what's been activated for you. If you have major Taurus, Scorpio energies, or you have your birthday even during Scorpio season, well, get yourself a solar return reading. Or if you have your birthday, around the 20th of November, 15th or 17th, I mean, then you really want to have a heads up. So let me know, and we can get you into a place where we look at everything and we move you towards, the alignment that your soul is really craving. So as always, the links are down below. You also know you can find me on Instagram, just message me, or info@abracadabrababy.de, because many of you, it was kind of interesting, I offered the group workshop for the core wounding, and then many of you felt the call, but were like, I want to have a one-on-one with you though about this. And I'm like, okay, we can do that too, If you don't want to necessarily learn the methodology of it all, then, and just, have a shortcut for your own chart, and let me know, and we can apply the same method for you in a personal session, of course. But I also love to have that community space, and also the option for you to, I want to say, learn all of that and apply all of that to a lower price point, because I understand that not everyone might be ready to invest in a full session. So it really is up to you what kind of support you want, need, or are basically passionate about. So either way, there are options for you. I want you to know that, if you feel during Scorpio season, oh my gosh, everything is going to shit hits the fan, well, you have options to get support, right? I'm offering you guidance, and I'm pretty sure other things will be dropped into your field. So it's not just like the universe is leaving you hanging. Just open your eyes and see that there are ways out of the stuckness, out of the tower, and into rebuilding what comes out of the tower. So I hope you join us for this exclusive workshop that is happening to enter Scorpio season. If you would like personal reading or have your solar return, then message me as well. Otherwise, please jump over to Instagram as well. I'm doing a lot more content, also kind of like funny content, just because I feel like we need to bring some humor into it as well. And yeah, spread the word for it all and stay sane, and please let me know what's going to happen in Scorpio season for you, because it's always interesting and fascinating to see how the astrology is really playing out for all of us, because we're all connected. And that's why I love to speak about these systems, because it's just cosmic poetry, as I always like to say. Okay, so you have your heads up. Please spread the word for this episode, share it on Instagram, tag me so I know what you do while you listen and when you listen, and maybe send it over to someone who needs a little reminder and heads up, and also like soothing words for Scorpio season, because that itself makes, brightens up someone's day maybe. So with all that being said, I love you. I hope to see you in the workshop, and we will speak very soon with another system of existence.